Well, yeah, this is a popular thing to discuss right now, and I must say that that's probably the best way to get in touch with anybody and to start collaboration in the best possible way is no managers, no agents, and that's how I met Madonna. Is very basically on a, she just called me, and that itself already basically was a great foundation for for the spontaneous things that happened afterwards. Everything was pretty much done on the fly. I mean, we had very little time. She just proposed me a lead role in a movie that she wanted to direct. And I was already getting pretty tired of roles that I was getting in the mail, which were all kind of dull and boring. And with her coming up with her script, I got immediately excited because she's incredibly exciting person to work with, and she was so humorous and dynamic. We got along perfectly right away. So 3 weeks later, I was already in London starting to work on a movie. Very last minute and very, as most of the things that ever happened to me, I left Ukraine last minute, and everything is pretty much kind of happening last minute. And what led up to playing together on a live Earth is actually, that was already at the point when we were just friends and hanging out, and there was never a plan to really make a musical thing together. It was just like we were doing a movie, and it was going really well. And everywhere I go, I always bring my guitar. So she heard the songs that I play, and she very cleverly saw the connection right away between one of them with one of her songs, with La Isla Bonita, and it was kind of like, you think you want to do that song with me? And said, yes, of course. I mean, everything was it was just like that, basically. Yeah, I mean, I didn't, a lot of people were like, kind of warning me how tough it's gonna be and stuff like that. I didn't really experience. I mean, I didn't experience any of that because I think, she's a very hard worker, and so am I. So there was no really any conflict about that, and it was more like, yeah, have you ever worked with me? I'll I'll wear you out. Well, I don't know if I want to completely, ruin the surprise and about, the plot of the movie, but I basically get to play in a lot of ways myself, and very much unlike Everything is Illuminated, where, for some reason people were so bummed out when they would meet me and I would not be Alex, you know what I mean? It's just like, I'm sorry, but that's why that is a successful acting, because, people fall for it and they literally disappointed when they see that that guy doesn't exist. It's like, it's a totally different guy. And so anyhow, yeah, well, our whole band is in the film, which is always, good thing to be with your brothers and sisters in the same company. And our music is in the movie. I think that's pretty much all I'm going to tell you for now. Yeah. Well, what is my relationship with it? I personally don't have a MySpace, and I don't have even a cell phone. So that kind of, I'm post-digital, I'm waiting till this whole trend gonna go away. And however, I mean, I know that our band has a MySpace, of course, and once in 6 months I see, what's up there, and when I have time. But you can't stop the progress, and I'm not a huge fan of the fact that I don't like the fact that that becomes like a substitute to all other forms of communication. And obviously, what we do as a band is very much direct, and it's very much almost about challenging idea of even personal space. It's like it's challenges idea of if you look in it in an anthropological way, Western civilization is so about fine tuning and so about luxury that the idea of when the person gets to a certain point of success, it buys itself a house somewhere where nobody can reach it, and that's great. What's so great about it? As our culture, for example, is based more on the idea of like, well, I grew up in a small house with 9 people in it. It's like a one room, So that's why I'm so psychologically prepared for touring with a band and everything else. And that's an advantage, I think, than being somebody who can't be with with another 3 people in a room for more than 1 hour, So I think that personal and direct communication is still the way to go, as long as we are people and not microchips. That's probably our better way for successful communication. And our band is very much a grassroots following kind of band, which means that we met before anybody started making big posters for us and hooraying us all over the world. We've been around for almost 10 years actually, and we've met like our first 50,000 of our fans with a handshake and a hug and an after party, and that's the foundation of our following and our community, our fans, and I think I more appreciate that. And all the MySpace, it's like, it's a decoration on top of that. Sure, it's a known fact that youth doesn't come from, the age. It's a condition of soul, and the oldest person in our band, the violin player and accordion player, they're probably actually more younger than anybody else in the band. And just to take a look at them or spend a day with them, they're like 2 years old. And, the thing is that, it's, as I said, we play that music because that's what's inside of us, and the sense of youth is the essence of our music, And I'm actually also always was very proud that our band is transgenerational. It has 3 generations in it. It's from 23 years old up until to 51, which is Yuri. And I myself 35 now, and it's like, what can you really learn from people that are somehow got together, during their college years and made a band that lasted 2 days? Yeah, it can be still exciting and good music, definitely. But does that have any, history to it, which kind of tests their commitment or tests their philosophy of the band? I don't know. That's why people at the end of the day, they listen to Tom Waits and Bob Dylan and Johnny Cash and Nick Cave, because these are characters, and Iggy Pop. They go and see Iggy Pop, and when Iggy Pop invites people on stage to dance with him, it's a highlight of their life. When other bands invite bands on stage, it's just because they're too bored checking text messages during their show. It's like, oh, okay, let's go on stage. It's a different experience because that person has a history. that person is vintage, that person is authentic, that person has laid his bones on the road for that certain way of life, and people trust his voice. That's why, you know. That's the difference, you know. And to be still inspiring sense of youth, then that's a phenomena.